Greetings, salutations, hello, friends. Thanks for joining. I'm back, I guess. I did not intentionally leave. That was not the goal. The last time I recorded was actually 1 year ago. It was in November of 2024. I did the Masonic Cess episode. And it wasn't that episode that made me stop. That was not what happened. Life took over, you know? It was just a lot of things all at once. And I had to stop and I had to reevaluate what I was doing, and where my priorities were. And unfortunately, as much as I love doing this and I only had a few episodes under my belt, I wasn't able to give it what it needed or deserved. And it wasn't going to live up to the expectations that I had set for myself, if that makes sense. So I took a break, you know? I took a little unplanned break and I just sort of reevaluated things. The last year has been, hell, the last few years have been amazing and horrible and wonderful at the same time because lots of lessons learned, lots of things, both in and out of the lifestyle, have happened. I'm in a completely different place now. I'm in South Texas currently. Not a fan. Nothing against South Texans. The people that I have associated here with are fantastic, but not really not really a fan of the area. I came down here for my vanilla job, and it sort of threw me a few curveballs. You know, I didn't. I thought I knew what I was getting into with that, and I didn't. And unfortunately, it's taken over a little bit, and you know how it is with jobs. You start out with the best intentions, and sometimes it's just not what you think it is. So I am doing my best to build up my photography and videography business here in the Southwest, and expand a little bit beyond where I was at in the East Coast. Let me be fully transparent here, because I feel like a lot of people in the business are not. Um, by and large, and I mean this in broad general strokes, I don't mean everybody, because some people do make a living from this. Some people make it their living and their livelihood, and they do very well. Some people make it their living and livelihood, and they barely scrape by. I was at a position where I wanted to make it my living. However, I knew it wasn't going to pay the bills, so I had to reprioritize. Part of me in this industry is doing photography, videography, and the podcast. I want the podcast to be something that I can go to for a creative outlet, and also so I can teach and I can learn, because I really do love that, and I love that about the lifestyles that I'm in, both the E&M and poly world as well as the kink world. And I've learned so much, and I know it's a drop in the bucket. There's so much more that's going to be going into my little pea brain over the next few years, but I digress. The biggest point I wanted to make in all this is that I had to take a step back for my own health, mental health, and well-being, and that's not a bad thing. The biggest thing I want to have anybody take away from this podcast and from my experiences in these lifestyles is that you have to check in with yourself. And that past November, this a year ago, and then into December and the new year, I really did a hard check with myself. And I spoke to my friends, I spoke to my family, I spoke with the people I was seeing at the time, you know, trying to sort of get a better sense of who I was and where I was and what I wanted out of life, much less the industry, right? And when I say the industry, I'm referring to anything involving content creation on the spicier side. I had picked up a few extra jobs here and there, and things were okay, but I realized that it was just too much. It was too much all at once, and it was changing my views towards everything. It was changing my views towards sex, towards what I found attractive, towards what I wanted, towards what I thought I knew, and what I didn't know, it just changed my perspective entirely, and I had to pull back. And my one constant there was my partner, the commandant. I have to give her a shout out because she was a good ear through all of that, and a very good person. We weren't even like officially official when all that happened, depending on who you go to. But that's an episode for another day. I don't want to dive into that too much right now. The biggest thing that I want is to just say, hey, look, there's episodes coming. There's gonna be a shift in things. I was listening to the episodes I've already recorded, and what I like and don't like about them. Of course, I'm partial to the first two because that was with the commandant, and that was prior to us being anything really except for very flirty and very fun, and we have good chemistry, and that shows, I feel, in that. I'm not going to get that with everybody, obviously. I'm not going to get that with every single guest that comes on. What I do want is genuine, open, honest conversation, which is really what we all want in life, right? But what I want is for guests to come on and share their experiences and share their wisdom, and I can absorb it, I can share mine, I can give my take on it, they can give their take on that. I want it to be a dialogue. I want it to be a natural, organic conversation. I never want it to feel forced. And part of my frustrations with the end of last year, or the end of, the end of 2024, was that it was starting to feel forced. So I had to stop. Because I lost my focus. I just had no idea what the hell I wanted out of it. So moving forward, I want to find that truth. I want to find that honesty. I want to find those experiences. So I'm going to be bringing in people who are both famous and not famous to various degrees. And I just want to hear their stories. And I want you to hear their stories so we can go on this little journey together. I told myself I was going to keep this brief, and here I am almost at 8 minutes. And I'm sorry for the ADHD tangent that I've kind of gone on here, but please know I am looking forward to making many more episodes this year. My goal is going to be once a month. Hopefully we can do that. It's still not making me any money, so keep that in mind. I have to prioritize that. However, if you know any sponsors, please send them my way. I'd be more than happy to take them on. Having said that, thank you for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm pretty sure there's at least 2 of you who probably listened all the way to the end. And yeah, just keep your ears and eyes open for what H Wood Studios is bringing to the table in 2026, because I want to make it bigger and better. So Hollywood's Underground coming back for 2026. Rock and roll, people.